Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm going to talk about what it means to have your Venus square to someone's Mars in Synastry or vice versa. This was requested a few times, and I don't know if you guys are going to like my take on this one, but here it is. So Venus-Mars aspects are not as like loving as some other aspects, like Venus Moon or even Venus Pluto. Venus Mars aspects are more directly sexual, and they're pleasurable for sure, but it doesn't show like love and tenderness necessarily. And this one, it really does not show love and tenderness. This one really actually brings up the selfish natures of both people. And there can be quite an ego combat here. It does maybe just as much as the conjunction of Venus and Mars bring up a powerful sexual attraction and a wanting and a desire to jump on that person, and like you just cannot possibly have them inside you any faster, or vice versa, be inside them. Like, it's very sexual. But what you'll end up noticing with this one is that and you could have other things going on that would mitigate this. Maybe you are compatible in other ways. Maybe there is other sexual compatibility, but this does not indicate sexual compatibility like at all. It indicates a difference in sexual expression. And this might piss you guys off. Sometimes people get pissed off when I bring male, female into it because they identify as whatever, but just because this is how astrology is often worded and how relationships often are, I think that it works better when it's the male or the masculine partner's Mars square to the woman's Venus. When it's the woman's Mars square to the man's Venus, I've had this, the woman can be quite frustrated at the Venus partner's lack of ability to please her sexually, and she really wants it, and she wants him, and she ends up taking on the aggressor role. And what can happen is that the people can come to bed together really fast with this one, but what you'll realize as you look back on the relationship, and maybe after the steam has sort of worn off, you'll realize that that wasn't actually the sex that you would like to be having. You just have different styles, right? When it's and this can go for both ways, whether it's male, female, Mars or Venus or whatever, but when it's the male's Mars square the woman's Venus, the male takes on that more aggressive role and is like more the pursuer, and usually the woman's Venus is more receptive to that, and the sex can be better, and it's less difficult in that form, I've found. But either way, it does show that your sexual styles, your love styles are different. And maybe you have other compatibility going on that's great, and then this is just going to show a buzz and an attraction, and a powerful attraction that really gets you at each other like fast, and you just want to rip each other's clothes off. And it's like you can lack tact and decency with this one. You want to get it on in the elevator, right? Like, it's like that. But as you look back at it, and you think about it when you're not in the flaming heat of all that passion, you'll realize that person, it wasn't really the type of love and sex that you truly want to desire. It was more selfish, or maybe one person is more selfish and taking from the other person, or and it could be both ways. Like, the Mars person is likely going to be the one that's wanting to take from the Venus person. They want that Venus person's love and sex, and they want to just take it from them. And it's like, it really brings up the selfishness of the Mars person. And the Mars person can actually get quite irritated at the Venus person. If that love, if that sex is not forthcoming, you know, it's very frustrating. This aspect can be very sexually frustrating. If there's not other compatibility there. And Venus-Mars compatibility, Venus-Venus, Mars-Mars is very underrated, I think, in astrology, because if our sexual styles don't match, if our love styles don't match, we frustrate each other, and not just in the bedroom, right? So this can, I've talked a lot about the sexual aspect of this because this aspect is so predominantly sexual, but this aspect can show that in other areas of life, we do not act the same either. You know, financially, we're very different in the way we spend money, the way that we dress, the way that we, you know, express our Venus and Mars and out in the world is very different. So this can be the person that you're out on a date with, and they just act in a way that's just not how you would act, right? And maybe that can be a turn on. Maybe that's like, wow, that person is way more, you know, dominant or aggressive than I would be. Or it can be kind of repulsive. It can be like, ooh, you know, that's not how I would act. And so, because Mars is our actions and Venus is what we find pleasurable. And when they're square, we're not on the same page, right? Now, we could have other things going on that we would still find pleasure here. Like maybe we've got Venus conjunct with Jupiter in the Synastry, and then we just love each other no matter what. This is so minor compared to something beautiful like that, right? So you have to look at the whole chart. But just in itself, this is a very, it's not that difficult as far as like, you know, like you can spend time with this person, but you just are very different and it can be frustrating. It's not like violent, or like, it's not like a Mars square Pluto or something. It's like, it's not that intense where you're going to like fight each other, because Venus isn't a fighting planet necessarily unless it's in Aries or Scorpio. But it's just a difference in how we express our love and sexual drives. Now, it can be very creative. It can be like, you know, we're able to generate a lot of energy and buzz, and you know, when we have other compatibilities there, we could really get a lot done together. We could really grow here. We could really have like that spark lit under our ass, or that fire lit under our ass, to really accomplish things of a creative nature or of our love nature. This can be like a real sexy aspect to have. It can be a real like playful, flirty, sexy aspect. Like, you know, meeting someone and their Mars is square your Venus, like it brings out like a raw, like primal, like animal sort of passion. And with the square, it can be a bit more of like a feisty, fighty, like, and some people like that. So people with Aries or Scorpio placements might find this one really fun and sexy and feisty, and it does get people into the bedroom quickly, but it's just what happens after that. We realize, oh, actually that wasn't it. That didn't really do it for me in the long-term sense, or the way that this person acts, the way that this person has sex with me is not actually it's not actually compatible with my desires. So but it definitely creates a buzz. It creates strong attraction just as much as the conjunction. But the conjunction, we are actually compatible. We're the same, right? But with the square, we're not, and we have to work at it. So it could be like the couple that's like, okay, you like to have sex this way. Well, some nights we have to do it this way, or, you know, some nights I want to be on top, or whatever. And maybe the other person has to give in once in a while and say, okay, we can do it that way. Or like, or even out in public, you know, I don't really like your style. You know, sometimes you gotta act more like this. And, you know, depending on the people, that might not work. But if, you know, we've got an Aries and a Libra, okay, maybe sometimes they're going to be able to cooperate because the Libra is going to give in or something. And so with this one, it's like, yeah, something's got to give here. We're not always on the same page with our love and sexual desires. And it can, yeah, it can be sort of combative too. Like we like to fight with this one. We like to hunt, and it can be more aggressive. Like when you have this aspect, if you're generally a more passive person, and then you have this aspect, it can make you more aggressive. It can make you more the pursuer, even if you're uncomfortable in that role. So it can definitely get people going and get people acting a little differently than they usually would. And to a healthy synastry with other good things going on, this is just going to be an added spark of long-term passion and like sexual fire and creativity that keeps us attracted for a long time. But you know, sometimes, yeah, maybe we have to try something new. So maybe we're with the square here, we're learning, okay, well, sometimes we're gonna have sex like this, and that's new to me, but you know what, I'm game, and actually maybe I enjoyed it, maybe because it was a little bit different than what I was used to. Whereas like with the trine or the conjunction, it's going to be, you're so similar, you're so in sync, you're the same, that maybe it gets boring over a period of time. It could, because you're just so similar. Then maybe you need to force yourself to go outside the box. But with this one, naturally you're going to be so different that you will be forced to do it differently, and maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. So yeah, I'd love to know your experiences of this one. This yeah, this is another one of those ones that could be books written about it. It's very animalistic, it's very primal. It's you can spot, like, if people, like, you're at a bar, or you're at a, you know, some public place where people are mingling and flirting or whatever, you'd be able to tell when this aspect is in play. The people just start acting like animals, and then they're getting it on somewhere in the building. Anyways, no, it's not always going to be like that for people who are not naturally like that, but it definitely creates a sexual fire and a pull. Doesn't always necessarily indicate long-term compatibility. It could be that we are actually incompatible. So you got to look at all of it. Yeah, I'd love to know your experiences of this aspect. How did it feel for you? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And yeah, I do offer one-on-one sessions. My links are below, and I'm making more videos all the time, and I appreciate all your likes, comments. Yay, love you guys, and talk soon.